You're listening to episode 202 of Lifestyle Locker Radio with Cathy Cooke. Hi, I'm Dr. Josh Hand, and I want to welcome you to Lifestyle Locker Radio. It is here where we talk all things lifestyle, from fitness to nutrition, peak performance to longevity, awesome relationships to inspirational stories. We take you on an amazing journey to all things life and lifestyle. Enjoy the ride. And for today's guest, if you want to learn more than they're going to tell you on this show, I urge you to scroll down, check out the show notes to get a detailed bio and everything you need to know about our guest today. We also encourage that you comment, review, and share this show if you are enjoying it from wherever and whenever you're listening. Lastly, we encourage you to check out all the links that we provide in the show notes. They are there for you, for your health, for your lifestyle. We ultimately want you to unleash your human potential. So dive into this episode. We'll see you on the inside. Hey everyone, welcome back to Lifestyle Locker Radio. We have a great guest that's going to be talking about not only health, but home health. And this is becoming a huge topic. We've heard of EMF, we've heard of mold, we've heard of a lot of different things. So Cathy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Josh. I am super excited to be here.
Great. So our guests love to learn, or our audience loves to learn a little bit more about our guests. And you just give us a little bit of your background, because getting into health, everybody's got their story, but you got into home health, which is totally not been on a lot of people's radar. You know, maybe they've thought about nutrition or maybe exercise and fitness, but how actually their internal environment in their home or even outside of their home can actually be affecting their overall health. So how do you get into that?
Yeah, well, like many people, it came from my own health struggles, right? So I had an experience when I was in grade school. I was about 12 years old. I was bit by a tick, and I've never been the same since. So, you know, you can call that whatever you want. You can call it Lyme or, infectious disease or whatever. But I struggled from that day forward with multiple issues. And, this was in the 80s. So there wasn't a lot of support or a lot of help for somebody that was dealing with an issue like that. So I had to start digging really deep on my own to figure out, what I could do to help myself heal and to help myself feel better. And so I dug really deep into nutrition and fitness and, functional medicine. I mean, this was later, 20 years later, because functional medicine wasn't really, very popular thing then. Yeah. So as I became more and more proficient with my health, I still had some lingering issues. And then, this was maybe, 2012, 2010, that the topic of EMFs and mold kept coming up for me in my research, because I had everything dialed in. I was doing everything right. But I still had really severe insomnia, and just a little bit of anxiety and tinnitus or tinnitus. Mm-hmm. So these lingering things that just wouldn't go away. And so I got to the point where I was kind of at the end of my rope, and I thought, okay, I don't really understand what this whole EMF thing is, but let me give it a shot, because why not? Because I wasn't really a believer at that time. I didn't understand what EMFs were. I'm not an electrician. It was super over my head. But I knew enough that I could unplug my Wi-Fi and stop using my cell phone. And within about 2 or 3 days of not using my cell phone, my tinnitus cleared up completely. And it had been there very consistently for over a decade. And that really blew my mind. And then, shortly after, my sleep just got dramatically better, and it just continued to improve. So from that experience, I knew that I was going to have to go down that rabbit hole of understanding everything in the environment. And I had previous mold exposures as well, but I was never really addressing it because it's such a huge, overwhelming topic. Mm-hmm. So I knew at that point, okay, if I'm going to continue to help people and I'm going to continue to improve my own health, I'm going to have to dig really deep into this and understand it. So I became certified as a building biologist, because I'm realizing when it comes to health, you cannot eliminate your environment from the equation. So you have to address
Yeah.
EMFs, you have to address mold, you have to address air quality, and all these other things that we're surrounding ourselves with. So that is how I got into the whole building biology field.
Yeah, that was so, when I was going over your stuff before we got to actually get on the call, I'm like, building biologist. That is pretty, that's cool. You don't think of this thing, and I'm sitting inside a home that's built in the 1950s, and God knows what kind of materials were used back then. I know we've updated and done tons and tons of things, but it's going, what else is lingering?
Yeah.
What am I in at this point?
Well, actually, I would say a building of the 50s might be healthier.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so here's an interesting tidbit about the field of building biology. So it was developed in Germany after World War II because what some doctors were finding over there is that the soldiers that were returned from the war, like in the US, they were all promised a new house. And post-war, we had a surplus of chemicals, on all sides that we didn't
Yeah.
know what to do with, and we put them into our building materials.
Huh.
So prior to World War II, we were mostly using natural building materials. We were using stones and wood and, rocks and all of these natural breathable clays and cob and all of this stuff. But post World War II, it's all now petroleum based and chemically based home products, which is interesting. And that's, so the soldiers all started to get sick because they were inside of these tight, energy efficient buildings with all of these chemically based products. And that's how the field developed, which is
Well, that's pretty crazy. And then, I guess I'm thinking about, like spray foam and all those things. We'll probably get into that conversation.
Yeah.
But then you have the lighting and then you have the EMF, and it's like these people are living in like a health ticking time bomb.
Totally. Yeah.
And trying to
Yeah.
do everything.
I walk into new homes, especially new homes that are outfitted with all the smart technology. And I just can't even imagine how that's going to impact the health of the occupants, especially if you're born in that environment, right? Like we're fortunate that we were maybe raised in an environment that wasn't quite so toxic, but today you're putting a baby, in this smart home with all these chemically based products. And it's a wonder why so many children have health problems, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a big piece of the equation because it's something they're in a lot, right? They're home.
Mm-hmm.
So let's actually start. Let's start with EMF and just some simple definitions for people, because people have heard the term without a doubt. Can you just let us know like what it is, and then we'll get into a little bit of the nerdiness and how it actually can affect your body down to the cellular level.
Yeah, great. So EMFs, or known as electromagnetic fields or electromagnetic radiation. So these are the fields that help us to run our current modern technology. When most of us hear EMFs, we're thinking about things like radio frequency, things that are communicating wirelessly. So our cell phones, cell towers, smart speakers, Bluetooth, earbuds, the wireless earbuds, anything that is communicating wirelessly in your environment is going to give off radio frequencies. But then when we get deeper than that, when I'm assessing a person's home, I'm also looking at electric fields. And these are just the fields that are coming from the wires in your walls. And, most of us aren't really considering that, but the wires in our walls run pretty close to where we put our head at night, right? When we lay down at night, the wires are very close to our heads, and that electricity does not stay in those wires. It comes out, sometimes 6 to 8 feet, but you can't see it, you can't feel it, you can't smell it, you can't hear it. So why would you ever consider that that's an issue? But I like to talk about, 100 years ago, we've only lived in electrified homes for, let's say, 100 years. And in a lot of places less, and a lot of people in the world don't have electricity in their houses anyway. But we think it's so normal because that's all we know. But I just imagine the first people that were like, hey, I have an idea. Let's put electricity in your walls. That sounds kind of crazy, right? Like, let's run electrical currents through the walls in your home. It doesn't sound like a very safe idea when you think about it intuitively. And I'd say it's probably not, but it's how we live. It's what we know. So, so we just deal with it. And there are a lot of ways that we can mitigate it, which we can get into later, but that's the electric field. Then we've got magnetic fields, which come from, again, living in an electrified environment, but it's more things with motors. So, your blenders, your electric toothbrushes, your razors, all of these things give off really high magnetic fields. Not a problem if you're only using it a couple minutes a day, but then there's like overhead lines. So this is the same kind of field that we get from overhead lines. So if you're living
power
very
line.
closely, power lines, right?
Yeah.
Power
Okay.
lines. Or you can have wiring errors in your house. So your electrician may have, say, joined neutrals in a junction box from different circuits, which they're not supposed to do, but they do it and they cause these really big magnetic fields. And that's also an issue. And then lastly, we have dirty electricity, otherwise known as microsurge electrical pollution, which is just an altered sine wave. And I see this most often from a lot of our energy saving devices. So things like LED light bulbs or CFL light bulbs. So when you think about it, you've got 60 hertz coming into your house, and then we've got this energy saving light bulb, and it's trying to reduce that power. But what's happening to the 60 hertz that's going to the light bulb? What does it do? So I kind of equate it to it backing up, and it has to go somewhere. So it comes out into your space. So that's the 4 fields that we're looking at with EMFs. Some people will also assess for geopathic stress. In building biology, we don't really get into that too much, but some of us do it kind of independently. But those are the 4 main fields that we're talking about. And it's just living in an electrified environment that affects our cells and affects our body.
Okay. So when we look at how all of these things can interact with each other, but they interact with, biology, like human biology, that's obviously the concern at hand. What are things, I know you had tinnitus or tinnitus, right? That was an experience that you had. What are other common things that show up in people's lives that may be exposed to like an overabundance of this junk electricity or EMF, whatever you want to call it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good question. So the main symptoms that I see with clients, insomnia is big. That's a big one.
Okay.
Tinnitus, it would also be another one. Headaches are very common. Muscle weakness is another one. Or just kind of like, achy joint pain kind of stuff. Anxiety is a real big one. And I used to experience this whenever I used a laptop. I would put it on my lap, searching online via Wi-Fi like everybody does. Mm-hmm. And I would just feel like I wanted to jump out of my skin, but I never was able to equate that the experience I was feeling there was the anxiety from the EMFs and the magnetic fields from the computer. Yeah. Depression is another one. What else? Those are the big symptoms that I see across the board.
Okay. So I know people listening on, holy cow, like I have a cell phone in my pocket all day. I have an iPad and my, next to me, I have a computer in front of me and, like all of this stuff. Yeah. It's like, how are we going to try to change the world when it's been evolving and building this way? Is it about getting rid of things? Is it about using devices or something else to help mitigate some of the problem? Is it about changing food that may help, or wearing something, or what are some solutions that make sense to, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now without technology, right?
Right. Yeah.
I have light bulbs that like left and right. I got a camera in front of me. I got a big ass screen in front of me. I got an iPad right here. Like there's a lot of stuff going on. A microphone that's got power to it, right? So I have all of this stuff. So what do I do?
Okay. So good question. A great question. So this is all on a spectrum.
Yeah.
Right. And we can be extreme, like I would be, I guess people would consider me extreme because everything in my home is hardwired. Right. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the biggest things that somebody could do. So I'm talking to you on a computer right now. It's got an Ethernet cable to it. Mm-hmm. And the Ethernet cable is wired to the router box, which is downstairs. Not difficult for me. We've got maybe, I think 6 or 7 devices that are hardwired in the house. So we can go to any room, use our laptop, whatever devices we want to use. We can do it hardwired. So we're eliminating that radio frequency field.
Okay.
And I would also say it's more secure. It's more reliable connection. I don't ever, drop the connection, and it's quicker. So, I mean, there's a lot of benefits to it.
Yeah.
The issue is that people are they like the convenience of not being wired. That's a really difficult one for me to get around with some of my clients, but we're talking about your health here, and it hasn't been that long since we've been ubiquitously using Wi-Fi. I mean, we were all hardwired 10 years ago.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
You just got to kind of wrap your head around the fact that it's okay to have a wire, and you're completely reducing that radio frequency field. So if you don't want to do that, at a minimum, I would say unplug your router at night. So for most of us, there's no reason why we need the Wi-Fi to be on at night. There are some security systems that work via the Wi-Fi. And for that, I just say, if you have to have a security system, just get a wired one. I mean, there's no reason why you need a wireless one. So unplug the Wi-Fi at night because, as you know, nighttime is the most important time of the day when we want, the most pristine environment. It's the most important. It's when we're recovering and we're sleeping and autophagy is happening. And, we have to sleep well in order for any other, any health parameter to function well. So unplug it at night, and during the day, you can actually get a Faraday cage for your router, or, you can put it in some of these metal boxes, or there's cloths. So you will actually reduce your radio frequency signal by about 90%.
Will that affect the actual function of the devices it is connected to?
Good question. So the signal will still get out, and each environment, each situation is a little bit different. So I've had some people where they can't use them because they're in a 4,000 square foot house and they can't get it on the other side of the house.
Okay.
For most of my clients, when they're in a more reasonable, let's say, 1,700 square feet, it's usually not an issue. And if it is, then you just kind of pull it back a little, enough to where you're still blocking a lot of the signal or a lot of the frequency, but you're still letting the signal get through.
Okay.
So there's ways you can do that. And then so that's the Wi-Fi. As far as cell phone goes, I know that people aren't going to stop using their cell phones. No. I get that. But we can be much more cognizant about the frequency with which we use it. People tell me that they have to have it on all the time because what if they get a call? And I'm thinking, again, it's only been a few years since we've had these smartphones and that we've had them on 24/7. Like, we've existed for all of human existence without being in constant contact with everyone we know. Yeah. And I would further argue that, our lives have become a lot more stressful and we have a lot more demand on us because we can be reached 24/7. So I think there's a lot of mental health to be gained from disconnecting more. And so what I do have a cell phone mostly because I travel and I have to have it sometimes, when I'm on the road. But otherwise, it's on airplane mode 99% of the time. I might turn it on once or twice a day to check messages, and that's the only way that I use it. Otherwise, I make my calls through my computer. I use a Google Voice number, which is free. I can talk as much as I want. I'm hardwired, so I'm not having any of that radio frequency exposure.
Yeah. So you can actually use a phone, if you will, like you're saying with Google Voice or even other VoIP, on a hardwired computer with your EMF-free earbuds in, right? Exactly. That you're wearing now, and have a lot less exposure to the junk.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's other things that you do. When I go into a client's house and I'm assessing the magnetic fields and the electric fields and the dirty electricity, of course, you're going to have a professional do that or learn how to use a meter. You can get meters. But the breaker to my bedroom is off all the time. I just don't have it on at all because the electric field goes down quite a bit.
Really? So you shut your breaker off for your bedroom, so it's just never on?
It's just never on. Yeah.
What do you guys do for light? I mean, I'm covered. I had a lot of shade from a big old tree outside our window, so I think
Yeah.
I'd be bumping into things.
Right. Well, so, it, as you know, we only want to use the bedroom for sleep and sex, right? So we don't want to be working in there. We don't want to be checking emails. We don't want to be, reading sometimes can be nice before bed, but I just do all of my work outside of the bedroom.
Uh-huh.
So at night, if it's dark and I'm going to bed, I mean, I'll literally just light a candle. Or I think honestly, my nighttime vision has improved dramatically since I started doing this because I
Mm.
can walk into pretty much any room and I see fine. I
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
there's a little bit of ambient light from the outside and I can navigate.
You're
It's
good. That's
not
great.
an issue for me. Yeah.
That's great.
But
No,
candles work really well. And it's actually good to see fire at night. That's how we evolved. We evolved with firelight.
mm,
So the candlelight can actually be a signal for our circadian rhythm that it's bedtime. So it's kind of a bonus in that way.
yeah, it's interesting. I'm thinking, and there are probably ways where an electrician, or hopefully an electrician, or someone that knows how to play with electricity, can actually maybe put like a big switch in your room that just powers off
The whole circuit.
the whole circuit in your room, right?
Yeah, they do. So they can install a kill switch, is what we call it. And it's super easy. I've watched them do it. It takes 5 minutes. They just extend the light switch that you already have, do some fancy stuff with wires, and then they put a new light switch in. And then, yeah. So if for convenience sake, all you got to do is turn off the light, that kills the circuit and you're
Hmm.
done. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I can tell you my experience after first learning about this with, having my router turn off like on a timer at night, having my phone on airplane mode at night, and then changing just changed our mattress as well for like toxic reasons.
Mhm.
And holy cow, like I track everything. I should say I
Yeah.
track quite a bit. And my different layers and levels of sleep have dramatically changed. I mean, initially with just the
Wow.
Wi-Fi and the phone, like that was
Yeah.
like, holy crud.
Right.
And then I changed, we were speaking about my true dark glasses. I've only had the red ones, the night ones, for maybe a week or so, 2 weeks, and it's game changing. And like you talk about night vision, when I put
Yeah.
them on, walk around my house. There's just, lights and all sorts of crap on at night, and I go outside to walk my dog with these glasses on. I can't see like 3 feet in front of me. I take them off. I have like night vision. Like it's
Right.
crazy. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm like an animal right now. Like
I
this is
know. It's
nuts.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But sleep has been dramatically different, and that's very powerful. And I didn't have, we'll say, a health problem or a challenge, but it was dramatically different because I've been an athlete my whole life, and at 40, running ultra marathons, multiple or many per year. Sleep is like essential. I mean, it's like something that not that I like want to get, that's like game on. I need to get it. If it's screwed up, I need to fix it, type of thing. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. Sleep is, I mean, I tell everybody, I'm a holistic nutritionist, as well as a building biologist. And when people come to me, I don't care what it is. It could be hormone imbalance. It could be depression. It could be gut issues. And I say, okay, we got to dial in your sleep first, because I don't care how good your diet is, how good your exercise routine is, how good your mental health is. If you're not sleeping well, then everything else falls apart.
yeah, it's pretty powerful. So now that we mentioned, we had the EMF, we got like all this electricity, all the stuff that we actually know what we can do. What about building materials? So if someone, says they want to build a new home, like
Hmm.
they have the opportunity, they have the money, they have the place, whatever, they have a piece of land, they want to build their own home, and they can get whatever they want. What are some of the materials to avoid, or things to avoid, and what are the common mistakes, we'll say, and what should people start to do to have like a healthy home?
Ooh, that's a great question, and a big topic. So one thing is that it can kind of depend on the code of wherever you're living.
Okay.
So, for example, I'm here in Boise, Idaho, and there's a builder here that's doing straw bale, and it does meet code here,
Like
but it
straw,
does.
like stuff I would see at a farm.
Yep, yep, the big
Okay.
old straw bales.
Yeah,
Yep,
like
that's
that's
exactly right.
insulation.
Yeah, it's amazing insulation.
Uh-huh. And is that
And so
like, is your wall like, like a foot thick?
yes, it
Okay.
is. It is.
It's bulletproof
But
too. I'm just
you
kidding.
don't really realize it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they are thick, but gosh, the insulative values of it are outstanding. And I know one guy here in town who's built his own straw bale, and I think his heating and cooling bills year round is, I mean, it's under $100. It's like $50 for the entire year or
Holy
something.
cow.
Yeah, because he doesn't ever have to, I mean, he doesn't have an HVAC system for starters. You know, he doesn't have forced air. But he does have solar, so he can do some heat and so some heat or cooling, but he just doesn't ever have to do it. So it's, I mean, you end up saving a lot of money actually when you build that way, because, you know, I mean, how much do we spend on heating a month in the middle of the winter? You know, hundreds of dollars. So straw bale is awesome, but it's also dependent on the environment as well. So we're dry here in Idaho, it's desert, so it works really well here. But in other environments, you know, that are more moist or have more humidity, might not be the best option. But there's a whole lot of natural building styles. So cob is another one that's pretty popular, and you know, you can find cob you know, how to build your own house with cob training courses throughout the country.
Cob,
It's
like,
really cool.
what's cob?
So cob is a combination of like straw and dirt and clays.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay.
yeah, so it's like an earthen material that you kind of pack together, and then you coat that material with clay on the outsides of it.
Interesting.
And so the benefit of cob is it doesn't trap moisture. So it will allow for moisture. Like say you take a shower and you're in a house that is built out of cob. The moisture will go into the wall, and then the wall will kind of hold on to it because it's this clay and this porous material. And then when it gets, you know, the humidity lessens, it will let go of it. So you never have this issue of, like, say, mold, right?
Yeah.
So over 50% of buildings in the US have mold. You live in a cob house, you're never going to get mold because there's this moisture, this regulatory moisture that control that's happening just because of the porous materials, which is really awesome. And you know, with if it's straw bale or if it's clay or some of these other building materials, there's a lot of them. You know, you're avoiding all these chemicals. I mean, you just don't have any chemical exposure because this is all just coming straight from the earth.
So I feel like I need to move into a teepee or something. Right?
I know. Well, but even, I mean, there's wood, there's stone.
No, of course.
You know?
I'm just thinking, you know, we'll say like for me in New York, I'm just outside of the city. I'd have to knock down, you know, $500,000 home to build something like that, right?
Right.
To start. So, but like we said, we're talking about building new homes. So using like the cob, using straw bale, and you'd have to check zoning, I guess, of your town, your community, wherever it may be.
Yeah.
What are things that you might want to avoid?
Okay, so let's say you don't want to do straw bale or you know, some of these other kind of funky alternative buildings. When you're putting up like a stick frame house, standard kind of construction, so you can do things like with your walls, you can get something called magnesium board. So instead of the drywall, which is, you know, primarily, gosh, I don't know what all is in there, but it's chemically based. You can get magnesium board, which is, you know, magnesium. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's not going to off-gas all those chemicals. And then when you're using, you know, you think of the obvious things like paint. I mean, you get a low VOC paint, or you get something like milk paint, or some of these pigments that are, you know, using natural colorings instead of, you know, because paint is extremely volatile. I mean, it off-gases considerably. Or carpet. Carpet is one of the biggest, and the carpet can off-gas, you know, 20 plus years. So you're continuing to get exposed to that. So there's plenty of natural floor coverings that you can use. You know, hardwood, cork is one of my favorites. Wool rugs, wool throw rugs, you know,
like
plenty.
Tile,
I mean,
or anything like porcelain tile, stuff like that, or no?
Yeah, exactly. Tile.
Okay.
Yep. So if you want to build like a more traditional house, there's actually plenty of things you can do.
Okay. That's good. And as far as, you know, like I know where you are, you're a resource for your community, your town, like the surrounding towns. are there places, like in New York, are there places that people can go say, hey, I want to find out more? Like they link to your website and then you give them a place to look. Like what would be a great resource for someone that says, you know what, I want to like do a little updating or changing of my house, and I'm in Connecticut, New York,
Mhm.
wherever, Florida. Ooh, how do
So
we?
there are building biologists all over the country,
Mhm.
and you can get on the building biology website and just look for someone in your area.
Okay, and they
That's
can
one
be
of the
like a
best things to do.
resource that way, the way you would be.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, okay. I'm trying to think what else, but this is interesting. I'm just trying to think of, I'm looking around my office here, my home office, seeing like, what am I sitting on? What am I near? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have to be real in that we can't avoid all of it. I mean,
Of course, but
try to buy a couch that doesn't have foam retardants in it, flame retardants and foam as the cushion. I mean, it's very difficult, and it's not, this is all expensive. So I would say, if you're like, oh my gosh, I'm surrounded by all this stuff, what am I supposed to do? I say, open your windows. That is the best thing you can do for air quality. So if you've got all this stuff in your house, just open your windows, get a full air exchange every hour, or buy an air filter, a good
okay.
quality air filter just to help clean up the air.
Got it. Okay, good. That's a great thing. We just did that. We had yesterday here in New York in January at this recording, we were 68 degrees outside.
What?
Yeah, and today is
Wow.
almost 40 degrees colder.
Wow.
Um, yeah, it's quite interesting. But unless we
Wow.
had opened the whole house up. It was great just to
Right.
kind of like,
Hmm.
clean everything out. It
Yeah.
feels good and feels fresh. But there's one other thing actually. This is what I wanted to ask because I was looking at your site earlier, and they just installed this year, maybe not 2020, but 2019, they installed a smart meter, and the damn
Mm.
thing is right behind our bedroom,
Oof.
and
Yeah.
it ticks me off. But I don't have an opportunity like I can't change it, and I'm not moving my meter because that's a major, major, major job. So what are things that someone, because they're going everywhere, right? Like
Yeah.
this, they're taking over the country at this point. Like what can we do? Like how do we combat this?
So a lot of places will have an opt out. Do you not have an opt out in your community?
I don't believe so. They just came and put it in. They didn't even they
Yeah,
just
I know they don't tell you.
yeah.
So I would look into the community to see if there's an opt out.
Okay.
Almost all, I mean, I haven't yet found a community that doesn't have some kind of active EMF awareness group or a
Okay.
smart meter group. So you could probably find that. You can look on Facebook. They have all kinds of
Okay.
Facebook groups. And I
I'll get
know that
on
there's
that.
a lot of, yeah, I know there's a lot of people active in New York in general. I mean, it's a big state.
Mhm.
Um, so I would look into that. And if you can't do that, there are shielding materials that you can use. So like on my website, there's a smart meter shield kit. And
Mhm.
so what that involves is actually wherever your meter is, you would put this cloth, on the interior wall, which is metal. The cloth is metal woven through it.
Uh-huh.
So you drape it over wherever that smart meter is, and the frequency that's coming at you from the meter will be blocked by that cloth. And then on the other side, on the outside, you can get one of these little round, kind of like a Faraday cage, this metal mesh that you put on it as well.
Yeah, I did see that. I just wasn't sure. Like obviously the full protection would be the cover, right? Like that, or the blanket, the sheet, whatever the material.
Yes.
Is there something, because I know the likelihood, I mean, my wife's all anti all this stuff also.
Hmm.
But the likelihood of me putting up something in a bedroom wall, right? Like if it was my basement or something, I wouldn't care.
Right.
Great.
So yeah, because it looks hideous, right?
But yeah, it's like our master bedroom is like,
Right.
it's our sanctuary there. Like I'm like, okay, and I get this
Yeah.
big thing on the wall. Like, what is that?
So,
Is there
so I've
something
had
you put
some. I've
in?
had clients do interesting things. So, one of the biggest things is they'll just get like a tapestry or like some really beautiful woven wall hanging or a piece of art, right?
Mhm.
Some kind of piece of art that they just hang over it.
Okay.
So it just kind of depends on your decorating style. But I mean, I've had people that have had like just these beautiful. They're not quilts, but I guess they're just wall hangings.
Hmm.
I mean, it looks great. I mean, it looks really nice.
Yeah.
So, you could do something like that, or you could buy something like a canopy that is made out of the cloth that you put over your
Okay.
bed, so you can sleep in the canopy. And it can look really nice. I mean, it can look
Yeah.
really decorative and,
Yeah, I've seen them.
drapey.
They're pretty cool.
Yeah.
Uh, do they make, size wise, does it need to be a specific size? Does it need to be, like 10 feet wide, 10 feet tall, or whatever it is? The
Yeah. Well, so when we're talking about the smart meter, you do need some distance on either side of the meter.
Okay.
And really, I mean, if you want to do this really appropriately, either you want to get a meter and test, or have somebody, a building biologist in your area come by that has a meter
Okay.
to test it for you, because you want to make sure that what you're doing is effective.
Yeah.
So, you want to test before and after. Always. Every time you shield something, you want to test before and after. But the way that the smart meters work is they can actually kind of give their signal off at the side. So it's not just going directly in front or behind. And it probably, I mean, every situation is different, but you'll get some deflection coming from the side. So you do want a good amount on either side of the meter. But, I can't give you a specific number because every situation is so different.
Yeah. Okay. Now, because I know this is probably on a lot of people's minds that are getting these things put in everywhere. I'm glad you mentioned the group, like to look for a group that we can opt out. I think that's very powerful. I'm going to today, this afternoon, after we're done, I'm going to actually do that. But also being able to have options if you can't get rid of it, like the shielding and like internally and externally. And I'm not sure if it's even possible to take it off the wall a little bit, like the exterior wall, like the whole box itself, and actually mount something behind it.
So,
Because I don't remember,
I
I'm just
gotcha.
thinking, I don't have it in front of me to look, but I think the wiring goes from the meter for us, because we're on a one-story old school house ranch, that drops into the ground.
Hmm.
So I wonder if the whole box can physically tilt off the wall and something can go on the exterior wall, and then we can bolt it back
Right,
up.
gotcha. That would definitely be worth checking out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All
Well,
right.
because
Well.
the other thing I would mention too is that you've probably got a big magnetic field coming off of that.
Uh-huh.
Because your panels, your utility meters, and et cetera, they always have a big magnetic field, but they drop off really quickly. So shouldn't be a problem in your bedroom. Just make sure your bed isn't directly on the other side of it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Totally. Understood. Understood. So I also understand, and this is going to be going on yearly with you a couple times. You're starting and have started a new program, right? On
Mhm.
sleep, is it?
That's right,
All
on
right.
sleep. Yeah.
Uh,
So
Give
it
us some
seems kind of
details.
all over the place because I'm got all this stuff going on, but it all comes back to sleep, like I said. And since my main issue was sleep for so long, my gosh, I've just learned so much over the past 20 years on sleep that I finally thought, instead of working one-on-one with clients, I just want to bring this information to the masses because, like I said, if you're not sleeping well, nothing else matters. So inside the course, it's an 8-week online module. And inside the course, I go really, really deeply into the EMFs that we're talking
Mhm.
about. So I have an entire module and I break down each of the 4 fields and I tell you exactly how to mitigate each of these fields and what you can do, because we've got to do that for sleep. And then I talk about circadian rhythm, blue light, of course,
Yeah.
stress and exercise, more complicated stuff like hormones and gut infections, and just I cover the whole
A lot.
spectrum because people have to sleep, right? Have to sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt. So this is going to be going on. And so everybody, we're going to drop some links in the show notes for you, because I think this is going to be something for those that are, into all of this cool stuff, like about making your life healthier and better and making your home healthier and better. This program is going to kind of probably, or will bring all of this together, right? We're saying sleep because you need to sleep to heal, you need to sleep to restore, and to have every other day be better, right? So, but now we have all these tools to go all over the place and figure out, okay, if we can fix these couple little things here and there, doesn't mean you have to do every single thing, right, Cathy? Like you don't have to do
Right. Right.
every single thing right
Yeah.
then. You
Totally.
may, you probably do,
Yes, I
obviously, but
do.
like for me, and just the example, something that she mentioned in the show already, is it turning off a router or just putting your phone on airplane mode. That made dramatic changes for me, that one thing.
Mhm.
And obviously, I've over the past couple of years, I've evolved a lot and changed in that sense to help my sleep, because it's essential to my life and your life. So you're going to have some pretty awesome stuff in this course. I haven't been through it, but I have no doubt in my mind that, the knowledge as a building biologist, as a nutritionist, I mean, this goes wide and deep.
Yeah, well, and that's because that's what I had to do, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I couldn't do just one of these things. I had to do all of it. So yeah, I mean, it's bringing it all together and putting it in one single course. So yeah, it's good stuff. I feel very grateful that I'm in a position where I can bring all of this information to people so that they can, change your life. Because if you're not sleeping, man, ugh.
Yeah, exactly. So what's the best place for people to find you?
Yeah, so my website, wholehomeandbodyhealth.com.
Perfect.
I have just finished up some of the websites for the course, the Sleep Easy Method. And so by the time this airs, that'll probably all be on that website as well. And then, I have Facebook, my Whole Home and Body Health on Facebook, and I have a Facebook group called the Easy Sleepers for anybody that
Okay.
has questions about sleep or just wants to dial it in a little bit. It's a really active community that's really fun. And then I'm on Instagram, though I don't use that very often because you have to use a cell phone for that. So for obvious reasons, I don't post very often, but I'm up there too.
Very cool. Very cool. So everyone, you can head over to lifestylelocker.com/Cathy Cooke. And it's a Cathy with a C.
Yep.
And an E at the end of Cook. So I'll be in the show notes. So you can scroll down and I'll have all the links and all the connections to everything whole home and body health. I think you're going to love this. Make sure you do, sign up for the course, get involved, because it doesn't only affect you, it's going to affect your whole family and everybody around you. Because remember, the mission here at Lifestyle Locker is to help people unleash their human potential. And if you're sleeping better and your house is healthier, your potential goes up automatically, right? So Cathy, one last question. If you could tell someone right now, do these 3 things to help them unleash their human potential, what would you tell them?
Yeah. So I'm going to say you got to address the Wi-Fi, right? Turn it off or hardwire or whatever it is. Put it on a timer like you're doing. You got to reduce your exposure there. 2, the blue light, like you mentioned, blue light changed my life. I mean, blocking the blue light, right? Wearing my blue light blocking glasses at night, total game changer for me, like you experienced. And the last one, something that haven't really talked about, but your mental outlook, and I know that you've talked about this on some of your other shows, but your, how you're viewing life, your attitude. I mean, there's nothing more powerful than that. So, doing whatever you can, whatever techniques it takes for you to kind of address your attitude and your mental outlook on life is going to be very dramatic.
Awesome. Well, Cathy, thank you so much. This has been very knowledgeable. I'm glad I've got a little bit of a little consult here as well during this show. So I appreciate it. And everybody, I'm pumped for you to get this information. So remember again, lifestylelocker.com/Cathy Cooke. Get all the details and we'll see you on the next episode. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed that episode with Cathy Cooke. I bet you never thought of home health this way before, right? Think of insulation, the materials we build with, our furniture, everything in between, and even the technology we use. So make sure you are using your technology and your home in a very smart way, because I want you to be healthy for a lifetime. And you know what? We've spoken about this whole COVID thing, and depending on when you're listening to this, with this pandemic that's going on, doing everything that you can to help you become the least vulnerable is essential to future health now and in the future, right? So make sure you go ahead and check out all the links below in the show notes to connect with her. And also, I want to let you know this show's been sponsored by the 3065 Health Program. So if you are interested in moving your body more, getting healthier, eating healthier, and just doing things that are consistently better for your life, go ahead and check out the 3065 group. The link is in the show notes for you there. And it is only $5 a month to be part of that tribe. So I look forward to seeing you all there. Have a fantastic day, evening, or night from wherever and whenever you're listening. I'm Dr. Josh Hant. This is Lifestyle Locker Radio. Peace out.